And just like that, another day, another episode, and we are a full house today, as you can see on your screen.
Whoa!
Right? We got three that's 6, and 2 that's 8. 8 people.
Amazing.
Let's see how this rolls.
International. Everyone's here.
Right.
Now that everyone's here, let's go over everyone. Sherif's in Canada, Saeed's in Lebanon, Abbas in New York
City.
Nafis in Canada. Whoa, 2 Canada, 2 America, Kuwait, Finland, Saudi. Amazing.
And 1 Saudi.
By the way, this is Sami's debut. He also has to introduce
this
himself.
is also Sami's debut, right? Sami.
Nafis did this last episode.
Yeah, go ahead and let the world know who you are and what you do.
Really, you're gonna put me on the spot like that.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I'm studying currently in Finland, electronics. I like to play basketball, occasionally hit the gym, and play computer games every now and then.
But that's not the most interesting thing about you. No, come on, like we talked about it last time, what you really did as well.
Well,
he grinds Apex.
You know what you did last summer, man.
You know what you did last summer?
Movie, Sherif.
Oh.
Excellent movie.
Yeah,
Right.
came from the army and now currently
you go.
studying, 2 years in. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. See,
Life's
so
taking me.
there's your debut.
Thank you for
just
your
like
service,
that.
my
Thank you.
friend.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for your
We
service.
have to
Finland,
mention
yes.
about Sami, man. We have
Right.
to mention about Sami. He was this is just like it's a small thing, like but he was the #1 player of a certain character on one of the most popular video games in the world. Like, you have to main selling point,
yes.
man. Like,
Yeah,
you have to sell
fair
yourself.
enough.
And my granddad was a sharpshooter, and my father also earned the medal in the army, and I also earned that medal. Passed on, yeah.
Exactly.
The
Man.
whole
Those are the
9
cool
yards.
things you have to. Yeah, man. That's nice.
Pretty much. Right, Ameer, since you're the one who came up with this episode, would you like to let the world know what we're talking about today?
All right, man. So what we're gonna talk about is Heartbreak. So we're gonna it's like a bonfire night. We're gonna sit around the fire, which is Sherif is the closest thing to a fire here. So I'm gonna put him right in the middle here because he's red and he's glowing.
He should have my
So-
background.
We're gonna sit around Sherif and we're gonna tell stories about heartbreak. It doesn't need to necessarily be romantic heartbreak, but that's where most heartbreak is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So go for it.
let's start with this obvious question. It might sound dumb, but hey, we'll give it a shot. What is a heartbreak? Let's try to define it for you guys. Like, does that happen? How do you get heartbroken?
Heartbreak.
When you get hurt emotionally.
Okay. Like more
No, it's
defined.
not. That feeling that like you feel like somebody punched you in your stomach, maybe something like that.
Well, even like when your heart
Like-
stops for like a second. Like you
No,
feel
that's
it.
called cardiac arrest, my guy.
That's a stroke.
I'm saying you feel it. It's not happening.
Man, I didn't expect it from you of all people, Abbas. Fine.
I would describe it more as like something where you feel like your insides are being torn apart right now.
Oh
In
my
the
God.
moment, and
physical
like
descriptions, man.
You guys really didn't stop
man.
I was hoping someone would say
Well, what
something.
heartbreak have you
Who
been on?
hurt you, Saeed?
Yeah, bro. Honestly.
Hey, but that's
Open
Saeed,
up,
go
my
first.
God.
no, because like it's something I'm relating to right now. That's kind
Oof,
of
oof, oof,
kinda
oof,
reason.
oof. I don't think you wanna talk about it. Do you wanna talk about it?
I don't mind. I guess both ways. I eventually had to tell you guys as my friends. 2 days ago, we received news that my grandfather might never wake up from his coma.
Damn.
Actually, it will need a miracle. They said, in quotation, it will need a miracle for him to wake up.
Well,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's what I've been dealing with. I haven't. The only person I have told is my girlfriend, and I mean, this is just one of the things I'm going through right now.
Mm.
But
Oh,
like, yeah, I'm
sorry.
just dealing with it. I'm saying I'm okay.
Sorry to hear about this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
about
hopefully that
situation.
miracle happens. Honestly, because
Yeah.
that's
Realistically,
So-
I don't think so. I trust in the medical statistics.
I mean,
Don't always.
there's always a chance. Even medicine, like I'm sure Abbas can agree with me on this. There's always a chance, my guy. There's
Yeah.
always
Yeah,
a
the
chance.
doctor said there isn't. So
I believe
The
in
doctors
medical
at
Well,
Sometimes,
like
bro.
they can be wrong. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just get your like false hopes up, but they
Yeah.
can definitely be wrong.
They can,
100%.
yeah.
yeah, they could be
Not-
wrong, but there's like that. That's usually like what 5% chance.
Okay, hold on to that 5%. You never
Yeah.
know.
Something
But-
to work with.
Wallah, you never know, dude.
Do you think you should hold on to hope though?
Yeah, I don't think so.
This is where exactly. I don't think I should,
But
because
see,
mainly
I
because
don't-
like the weight, man. It's like the shit
I
that
want to hear from his experience. That's why.
because like just watching your family, man, going through it, and like every time I see my mom and my grandma, like if they're just sitting together, they're always crying, and just hearing my whole family. It's nice to see the whole family working on trying to provide for my grandfather. But if you look at the guy, to be honest, and whenever I see him, it doesn't seem like he's there, you know. So
I
it's
lost
like,
my
you know, when you see
grandfather
someone who's
the same way.
when you see someone who's brain dead, that's what it is. That's just like you just look at a person who's just there. They're on life support. They're breathing, but sometimes they're not even breathing alone.
right.
So
I lost my
that's his current
grandfather,
situation.
I would say like 12 years ago or 13, something like that. Same way. Coma, didn't wake up.
Yeah, man. It's
Well, you haven't lost him yet. It was in a similar situation, right? I don't remember it as much though, because I was young, so I didn't process it the same way, and it all felt like just a bad dream, you know. And then a couple of years later, it kind of hits you, and you're like, "Well, I went through that." Yeah, but when you look back, and it almost feels like it didn't happen, but you know it did, and it was sad.
that's
Something
the
about
thing.
time.
I don't know if I'm processing it. That's the thing, because I am unable to react.
You're in the
That's
midst of
like
Yeah, you can't absorb everything while it's happening. It's gonna take some time to settle in. I remember I
You're
lost my
there.
grandma 2007, and I was like 8 years old, and it was the same. Like I've come to a realization that shit, she is gone. Like 3 years, 4 years down the line, you know, after the events, and it's just it sucks, but
losing
you know,
people is
yeah,
worst,
it's the
man.
hardest thing to do. But in life, nothing
True.
is forever, you know what I mean? Like even us, we're all one day gonna kick the bucket eventually. I don't mean to turn this into a death episode, because we did it once, right? Like we don't have to go through it again. But I think what's comforting about this whole situation is just like how we're all heartbroken over the loss of someone. You know, it's comforting to know that once we're all gone, I'm sure there will be people who are going to be heartbroken about us, right? Like that could be
Yeah.
a way to hold on to comfort. But as you go through it, like heartbreak is a bitch, and like no one here can tell me otherwise. So how do you guys get over
That's
heartbreak?
life.
Saeed, I want to continue with Saeed just a little bit.
Go ahead.
So you're going through it now, man. Like, I want to know, like, what do you think is the hardest part for it? Like, I know you mentioned seeing your mom and witnessing people like that. But other than that, what does it like bring up into your experience that you find that's really hard? Like a
You mean how
thought-
it's influencing me right now?
Yeah, and possibly if there's any light that comes from it too. Like, I don't know.
Well, first of all, I don't like emotionally. I'm not able to, like I said, I'm not being able to process it yet. So I don't think I'm reacting in the right way. But what I have noticed is that I'm becoming more. I'm getting angry more easily, and it's like it's kind of projecting onto the people that are around me. It's not easy to be able to handle this shit, especially with the other things that we're like, you know, joining into this experience. And yeah, basically I'm just fed up, to be honest. I'm on top of that, obviously living in Lebanon is not helping at all. And I just want out. I don't want to talk to people. I don't feel like I want to be able to talk to. I don't feel like I want to talk to people in general.
Interesting.
Although somehow on the podcast I do feel comfortable. It's just because, like, you know, it's become a bit of a routine. So it's something that I know we've talked about this, like having an escape before, and this is kind of one of those escapes for me. And another thing is working on the podcast behind the scenes and for like finishing up a few things for Red Cross. These things are kind of distracting me, so I don't constantly think about it, and in a sense lose my will and my motivation to do anything in life, to just to live in a sense.
But Saeed, don't you think it's appropriate for you, who's going through this at the moment, to just take a step back, let it all just settle in, and then move forward again, instead of delaying this? Because whether you keep distracting yourself forever, which is technically impossible, or you distract yourself now and then later it happens, it's bound to happen, that realization. Ask anyone here who's gone through it before.
No, Ali, I agree with you. The thing is, it's just not happening. Like, even if I just sit down and think about it, it's not going through my head,
It takes time, I would say.
Yeah.
Don't give up yet and let it process itself.
I think as well, like it's like he's trying to cope because he's in a state of limbo as well. Like there is realization can't really set in because like they don't really know. Like, yes, it's a 5% chance, but it's that not knowing if he's gonna come back. Like, that's really painful. I think that's one of the hardest parts, is that you don't really want to let the pain set in yet.
Well, I completely agree with you, Sherif. Like, in the part of being limbo, because the most recent death I had to deal with, I didn't feel anything for like a week. Then it all came, right? Like, it was just blank. And it's not that I didn't want to feel or I wanted to feel. I was just, it's all happening and you're there and you're witnessing it all. And you're kind of like, I don't know, man, you're kind of like pissed at life to an extent. You're like, why is this happening? But that anger isn't like triggering the sadness. It's just like theoretical in your mind as an idea. You're just really trying to like be logical about it because it's such an overwhelming situation. I suppose like you want to kind of find like some kind of logic in it, right? But you just witness it and you can't feel anything. And then you reach a point where you can't find a logical explanation. It all falls apart. And then that's when, like, for me, it hit me when I couldn't explain why it was happening, right?
I think it's also like Sherif said about the not knowing part. It's because he's technically still alive, so we can't really grieve since he's not actually dead. So in our mind, we're not able to process the fact that he is possibly dead because he's still there.
Yeah.
So we're constantly having this complication with being able to understand what's going on. So it's just like, when I explained, like, it's staring us from the inside, that's how it feels. It's like, it's not like the inside is being torn apart, but it still hasn't burst out. The emotions aren't coming out because it's not finalized.
Yeah.
Sorry, Abbas, I interrupted you.
No.
Yeah. There's a nice analogy that I like to think of when it comes to death. When you stare at the ocean, right? Like, you see a wave come up and then it dies away. But when the wave comes up, you call it a wave. But when it's in the ocean, you just call it ocean, right? So we bop like that, like a wave, and then we kind of just go back into
it. I mean, that's how I imagine a lot of life. It's like everything bad happens all at once. It's like you're doing your routine and sometimes you feel things are great, but when something goes bad, it all goes bad. And that's happened to me a few times in my life, and every time it happens, it's like, why is everything happening all at once?
Yeah.
And I guess that's just life. I don't know. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, I was gonna say like everything bad happens at once,
Yeah, for sure.
To do with like negative energy, shit like that.
No, I don't know. It's like a boulder, right? Like, you're falling, it's gonna keep on falling. It has that momentum, man. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
My grandfather said this, like, simply in Finnish, obviously. The wheel must turn.
Can you say things simply in Finnish?
Things. But he said, like, the wheel must turn or go around. How do you say it? Even in English, I can't even. The wheel must keep turning. So
Yeah.
So other than that, how did you guys get over your heartbreak, regardless of the context behind.
I want to hear the context, though. I feel like it varies a little bit. Like, I want to know the. So I don't think like death or like different. I don't think different kinds of heartbreak fall under the same umbrella.
Yeah, so I can talk about some love stories here, some old romantic.
Here we go.
I mean, you know, I'm much older now, but young love, it really hits hard. What am I gonna say? Especially in like.
Rain said him, man. He's like 40 years old.
He's 40. He's like what, 22, 23?
Young love, man.
But it is. It's like it is. Especially, I remember it the most vividly when I was really young, and then you know, every intense love interest since then. It's different. It's a more mature thing. But when you're a kid and you're in love, it feels like.
Is it the person you still
the
text?
whole world. the whole world's gonna collapse. Hey, shh.
I didn't name
We told
drop. No.
Sherif not to name drop. Now you're hinting at shit, bro. Come on.
No one knows what he texts. He texts a million people.
Ooh. I don't think you want to say
Yeah,
that
Ali-
on the podcast when we're recording, especially because it's gonna ruin whatever he has now. So let's.
Well, I'm just trying to share with you guys. Those are moments I feel, even though they're silly and you know they're silly, but it just like there's nothing worse than like a girl's rejection. What am I gonna say?
You're talking about a rejection, not like a relationship that fell
I think
apart.
rejection is better than heartbreak. Like
True.
when you've been in a relationship for like 2 years and like you freaking
Oh my god, bro.
get cheated on, for example. Like
You just brush it off at some point.
yeah, I mean
Why do
like
I
one
feel
week.
But maybe when he was like, let's say young, and let's say somebody is not him, but like someone's never been in a relationship. So how could you
Obvious.
compare
Yeah,
that pain to being rejected? So I guess that's what.
But
Also,
Ali
don't-
has been in relationships. That's the thing. I know Ali.
Yeah, but I think Ali was talking about like the initial experience with the rejection, right, Ali?
Like,
But it's a
being
thing you
young.
gotta
Yeah,
learn.
because like
yeah.
your first experience with these kind of negative
Outcomes.
reactions to what you want. So it's like a burst. It's bursting your bubble, you know. When you have this expectations in your head, it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna ask her. She's gonna be so
And it feels
interested.
so
She's gonna
good,
say
dude.
yes. Yeah, you have these built up
It
expectations
feels so
at
good,
that young
those
age.
expectations,
Pretty much.
exactly. They're gonna
Yeah.
pop
So
up.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
and then
bro,
someone
that's
just
why,
bursts
like-
the whole thing for you.
to me, like a rejection, when you get upset about a rejection when you're young, God knows I've been through that. You guys can you guys are the expert here, right?
Yes.
But
How's the hand?
I feel like, hey man, I fell.
Society felt.
Hey man, but fuck, you guys threw me like with a complete curveball right there, like trying to regain my consciousness here. But basically, man, when you're a kid and you get like rejected teenager, right? I feel like that kind of upset. It's like you're throwing a tantrum, kind of. You're like, oh man, I wanted this thing and didn't get it.
I think
Whereas like
it's necessary.
heartbreak when you're like in a relationship and something falls
hold
apart,
on,
it's like,
please.
bro, I love this person. I developed something amazing with them. I trusted them, and then shit fell apart. Right?
So that begs
That
the
breaks your
question.
heart.
This begs
but-
this very important question. How necessary is heartbreak, and how necessary is it for a
Very.
person to go through?
Yeah, very.
Very
I agree.
necessary. Now,
Because-
now, when I say necessary for heartbreak, I mean like relationship heartbreaks and
No, great.
But, like,
we're still
loved
Dump that
ones.
bitch.
kind of tough, you know. But yeah, a relationship heartbreak is you should go through it. Like
General adversity, you gotta face it. It's gotta happen in your life because I remember there's this one comedian. This one comedian said that because his dad was very rough on him growing up, and he said, "Do you guys want to?" And like when he would always tell his jokes about his dad, like, you know, beating him up or whatever, not actually beating him up, but, you know, treating him
poorly.
in whatever way you want to call it. Anyway, he's like, do you want to raise your kids to the world that it should be, or to the world that it actually is? And I personally agree with him a lot, since you can't raise your child to to this expect this perfect utopia that they expect to live in, because that's not what it is. The life, everyone knows here, we've all been through shit, and life is full of shit. But you gotta learn about all of these experiences from a young age so that you can be able to deal with it once you're a young adult. Because if you don't know how to deal with these things once you're a young adult, that's where you start hitting, your life just starts hitting the fan, like shit hits the fan, and you basically don't know what to do with your life.
I think it should be like a 50-50 thing. So, like, for example, you could set an example, let's say, for your son or daughter, how the world could be or improve or be much better, but then also kind of show her or like talk to her how it actually is, and because otherwise, how would they know what's like good and what's not?
The experience is invaluable, though. Like, if you go through something horrible, man, like, it puts everything else that you've gone through in perspective. Like, if you go through something really, really, really bad, if you go through a really tough time, everything else you've been through is like a joke to compare to it. I know that. Haven't? Like, what? Well, yeah, fair enough, man. I don't know what happens if you haven't, right? Like, but I just know like life is a ticking time bomb. If you haven't yet, you're about to.
If you say I have an answer for it, if you haven't, you become deluded, basically.
Because I feel like I'm only 23. Maybe it'll come, but I don't think.
Yeah, eventually it'll come. Yet. But there, person to person, it differs how you deal with rejection, failure, heartbreak, whatever you want to call it, right? Some people might say, okay, I got rejected by a girl, that's fine. Some people might blow it way out of proportion and just hate themselves, and you know what I mean? It's a spectrum of how you take in the information.
That's why I said heartbreak is relative.
It's relative, but it's essential. Because what sucks about it is we all go through it, right? But there's no standard way of dealing with how to move.
Yeah, but man, like, what I mean, Abbas, like, I agree with you in that, it's relative, but at the same time, there's the maturity aspect that comes into it. It's like, it's relative, sure, but at the same time, bro, like, if you're immature, you're gonna exaggerate everything, bro.
Which is where the relativity comes in.
No, but relativity implies that the intensity is
from person to
the same from person, like from different person, but it's not like.
But on average, I guess.
It doesn't hurt the same. That's what I mean. Like,
exactly. That's where the maturity. Listen, I'll give you an example, Ameer.
Relativity implies that he's gonna feel really bad about it because it really hurts, but it doesn't really hurt. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying they exaggerate the minor disturbance.
Right, but what he's trying, what I'm, at least I can't speak on his behalf, but when I agree about the relativity portion, the maturity of said person is what causes the relativity. How? I'll explain. I lost a grandparent, you lost a grandparent, right? It's the same thing. We both lost someone because they died. Same person, it's the same concept of pain, right? The relativity comes in your maturity and how you deal with it, how I deal with it, right? That's where the relativity comes in.
Yeah, I agree. In that sense, yeah. But in the sense that you can call it heartbreak, you can't. Like, some things you just don't call heartbreak, man.
True.
Have you guys heard that like Louis C.K. bit where he goes like, people don't know how to use words? About how like I'm on the plane, it's so hard to be on the plane. Like, no, it's not that hard. Like, man, like, shut up. It's not hard to be on the plane. Being on the plane might be a little bit uncomfortable, but if you had to travel 100 years ago, that would have been hard.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I mean. Like, some words, man, they're too powerful. You can't just like misplace it on like something as silly as like a rejection, right?
Right.
No, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Because so, man, like, what do you leave to the guy? For example, I know a person recently. He lost his wife, who was pregnant with a kid, to COVID. Like, he was afraid from COVID, so he sent her back home. She got COVID back home, right? And she passed away, right? With his kid. So that's fucking heartbreak, man. Me
Yeah.
getting rejected at 15, that's not heartbreak.
Yeah,
Right?
no, yeah. Do you think there's a
that's-
standard to like you're saying? There's like there should be a standard to the pain levels.
But I mean, of course, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, well, my point would just be like, with what Saeed was saying before about like telling your kid or teaching yourself even that, man, just look at what's happening in life. Life is a fucking tragedy, right? If you just look at what's happening and everything that's tragic, you'll naturally develop that mature perspective because you'll be able to relate better, right? If you're complaining about your food, but at the same time you're aware that some people don't get to eat, and you're aware that some people, are starving or are like suffering in Palestine or whatever, you're gonna have a different perspective on that suffering.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's not like
Right.
bad that what's happening in your experience. It's just you're gonna have a more mature perspective towards it, and that only comes from being aware of the tragedy in the world. If you're not aware of it, you're gonna have an immature perspective.
So, but what is heartbreak? I still don't understand. So, what do you? Because I kind of disagree because I don't believe in like this absolutes. I think it is relative, and being rejected is heartbreaking.
Bro,
It's not as heartbreaking as the death of
Yes,
someone you
it's-
love, but I don't believe in absolutes.
yeah, maybe
There's
it's
a way to measure
semantics,
it.
right?
Yeah, it's semantics at the end of the day.
Because-
Or your
yeah.
definition. Yeah, what do you mean
like-
by like heartbreak?
I'm gonna find the Google definition.
Bro, I'm not really like trying to say like
Yeah.
one specific thing is only heartbreak. I'm just saying like the real perspective, or the real perspective, or the most accurate perspective you can have on what heartbreak is, comes from recognizing all the tragedy in life. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. So if you were to ask me what I would define as heartbreak is, I would tell you I haven't been through it yet. For sure. Like there's nothing that has actually like completely destroyed me. The longest I've been like in a dark place, and I have been in a dark place, and this time allow me to go into detail. Well, I suppose I can shed some light, but like, well, the darkest place in my life was probably like my second year of uni, or like my first year towards the end of the first year. I didn't have any friends. What am I saying? I didn't get along with my flatmates. I was in a different country. All my routines were fucked up. Like I had no good routine for like health. I had no good routine for eating. I had no good routine for gym. I had nothing, bro. Everything that like used to bring me joy, I did it fucking wrong. I didn't do anything right. So I was in a dark place. That was as worse as it ever got to me like, in life. And that was like what, 3 months of feeling shitty. And when I was going through it, it felt really bad. But it wasn't heartbreak.
Right.
It was a whiny kid who hasn't gotten used to college yet.
I agree, Ameer, 100%. Yeah.
Well, the Google definition of heartbreak, sorry to cut you off, Abbas, but heartbreak is a feeling of overwhelming sadness and grief.
I don't think rejection is overwhelming sadness.
There you go.
Wait,
Me at the
thing
moment.
is, it's back to perspective. So when you're a kid who hasn't experienced much,
Yeah,
that's the
true.
first thing you
That's- yeah,
experience.
There you go.
No,
Oh,
but
yeah.
But Sami, as a like, for example, Ameer, as he was saying, this is how I think exactly. Somebody different than Ameer would have been like, oh, that was like the worst period of my life, and that was, the most tragic thing, and
Yeah,
he
she
could-
made me feel insecure. Like that. That's probably what they'll probably say all the time, right?
Yeah.
As a 15-year-old, you're not thinking like that, but sure.
No, that's
Yeah,
what
no,
they say.
bro,
That's what
I
they
thought
say.
like that. I thought like that, but
Same. I thought I was like, I'm not good
enough.
enough for her, or like something. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has.
I had like, oh man, like fucking body dysmorphia to an extent. Like I didn't like many. Bro, Sami knows that. I used to wear hoodies fucking midsummer, bro, because like
Yeah.
I had to like skip gym, and I was really pissed off at myself for losing weight during that period. And I would wear hoodies in the fucking heat just so I don't like take them. Like, yeah, man, that shit happens to you. Like,
Yeah, I used to have like a fucking bone here that would pop out of my chest. And I was very
I
insecure
remember.
of that.
And
I
you
have
used to
a
always,
remembers it.
you used to always like get mad
Yeah.
and tell you, bro.
Yeah, and you,
chill,
Ameer.
it's not that.
yeah, I have the same one too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I kind of have to. So when Ali, you were saying like on the point of it is relative, and Sami, you also said on that point, like when the child is facing not the child, like the teenager is facing a heartbreak from person. So let's do an experiment where everything is consistent except for the variable of age and experience, obviously. So let's say a 15-year-old goes through the same thing that Louis C.K. was going with his wife. But obviously it's not his wife, it's like, let's say his mom. I think Louis, because of his
What happened
experience
with his
of
wife?
Yeah,
What
maybe you
happened
should
to
say
his
for
wife?
reference.
Wait, who did you say? Sorry,
Said it was
I
his
missed the
friend.
point.
He
Oh,
said
it's your friend.
It's a friend, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry, that's the friend. So the friend, obviously, so we said that he lost his wife with the child.
Yeah.
So let's say this 15-year-old
Would-
lost his mom.
If I may just add to that before you
Yeah.
continue, he has taken it amazingly, and you can't say he took it well, but like, if there was such a world in which you can take that well, he's done the absolute best. Yeah.
Okay,
Shout out to
that's
him
great.
for that.
That's great on him. But that's not the point that I'm trying to make is, so on the factor of relativity. So if a 15-year-old was going through the same amount of heartbreak, for example, let's say his mom died.
His wife had no. Okay.
That's why I changed the premise a bit.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same way. He's not going to have the same perception of the loss.
But you're
It's
dealing
going to
with
be harder
loss.
on him. It's going to be
Okay.
it's going to be more difficult
I
to
have a question
understand,
to you,
and
Saeed.
it's going to have even more
Who's the voice of
like
wisdom?
long-term
here?
effects on them.
I have
It
a
depends
question.
if
This
you
is
really
a-
understand it. If you like understand what's going on.
You have to have an exceptional, very mature 15-year-old to be able to understand that his mother just passed away and deal with it very well.
But who's the voice of wisdom? Is it like, are you relying on the 15-year-old to make sense of this, or is someone guiding him? If you're telling me this 15-year-old, you just throw him on there and there's no one there like talking him through it, there's no one helping him navigate that experience, I'll tell you like most likely he's not going to come out of it as strong as you'd hope for him, but is
There's
he
a chance, but very
yeah, there's no
unlikely.
chance. But like, is he with his mom? And if that's the question you're asking, like, what is the mom how is she supposed to make him make sense of that? Or like the father, I mean, because in that example, the mom. If the father is there to help him make sense of that, then it's all about relativity, man. It's
Yeah, but
not
that's
about
why-
telling that person,
No.
look,
That's what I was doing. I was saying it's like
Right.
an experiment, keeping everything consistent except for the variable of age. So they have the same circumstances, these two individuals, but one is just older, so that means they have more experience in life. They have gone through more shit, so they would have a different perspective. So let's say they have this same circumstances. I don't know what factors you want to put into it. The only difference is that they're two different ages. One is still in his mind is still in a developmental age, and he's not going to process it the same way as someone who's way older.
I think it's the same.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
I think
the
for
same?
me, I would
That's what you
label it
think?
as the same because both of them
I
are
would
losses.
disagree.
Both of them
Same,
are
I
losses,
think.
and the man is also in a stage where he needs his significant other. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Okay.
not as easy as you think to go find another wife, get her pregnant, blah blah blah.
yeah,
I mean, that's not the
agree.
point of life. But I mean, for me, they're both under the category of death. And
Yeah, 100%. And I think if you're in that situation, if you're trying to figure it out on your own, you're doing it wrong. 100%.
yeah,
Talk to
it's really-
someone, man.
I think
You need the voice of wisdom.
yeah, but like
That-
it's easier to process it when you're like at a mature age
Yeah.
where you
Really?
know what's
You think
going
so?
on and everything. Yes.
Whereas
When
When you
you're
lost
young-
your wife and
When
kid,
you're 50, yes, you can process what's going on, and
Yes.
how to deal with it is different now. How to deal with it, but processing what
mean-
actually happens.
but
So
now
when
you
you're young-
understand. But now you understand the meaning of death. As a child, you don't really understand the meaning of
Exactly,
death. You lost
which-
your mother.
That's why he means he
which is
processes
really
it. Yeah.
yeah.
okay.
Which why he would process it differently and maybe even cope with it better because of not understanding what the hell
I
actually
mean,
happened.
like who copes with that really well? I don't know.
Well,
many
when
people.
I
Oh,
was
God bless
now
this
talking
guy.
about heartbreak, like for example, when I was around 10, 11, 12, I still didn't process that my grandmother passed away. It only hit me like a couple of years later.
Yeah.
I didn't actually like feel, and I was very close to her. Don't get me wrong, very close. But yeah, I just didn't.
But you must have felt something.
Yes, of course, very sad, of course. But like my processing is that I never believed like she was
Yeah,
dead.
you don't make sense of
Or,
like the the fact that you can't see them anymore. Like, it doesn't make sense to you as a kid. Like,
Yes.
that they're no
Almost
longer
no
there.
more.
Yeah.
Person you see almost every day is just gone.
You almost feel like, like again,
But when
like I
you're
said
mature,
earlier,
yeah, when you're like mature, like you've had experiences in your life where it can help you understand what just happened, but you can deal with it in like it comes to like person to person, like how they deal with it. Then it depends on their previous experiences.
Honestly,
in
man,
life.
I'm with Abbas though. Like, there's just some levels of pain like nobody deserves to go through, man. in
Like
life.
both,
losing
yeah,
a
like
wife and
both of them
kid,
are-
that's I don't want my life
Yes.
to touch that, man. It's
Yeah,
like-
no,
Yeah.
but that's not the point here. The point here is like, are they the same or are they different? For me, of course, I think for example, let's say if you're matured and like you've lost your wife and kid, that's horrible. Wait, I kind of lost. So it's horrible, but
You're good. You're good. Keep going.
it's just like when you're younger, I think it's easier because you're not processing what is happening. Of course, it's horrible. That was my point. It's just because you don't understand too much and you can't relate it to any of your experiences before.
So that's the complexity of an adult's mind is not the same as someone who's.
so you're
younger,
saying it's
right?
easier on the younger person, though.
I believe so.
I think he
yeah.
means he's
I
less
agree, I
aware
agree.
of the
I would
how
say
hard it
it's
is.
actually
Very-
worse because of the long-term effect.
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like I lost my grandfather when I was 8, 9 years old, and it didn't
I was
really
talking.
affect me at all.
No, I was talking about someone that's more close. So, for example, if a 28-year-old lost his mother and a 15-year-old lost his mother,
These are cruel experiments, Saeed, that you're setting up. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
It's
bro.
like
I'm
oh
trying
my
to. I'm trying to
God.
keep. I'm trying to
Okay,
keep
wait.
a consistent.
Wait, Saeed, now you
like,
changed
standard.
Now you changed the playing field because a 28-year-old who lost his 60-something-year-old mother, for example, I mean, eventually everyone's gonna go through that loss. For me, of course, the child who lost his mother at a younger age gets hit more. But I mean, as an older adult, you are gonna realize
Man,
that.
I'm confused with the question, Said. To be honest. Are we talking
Yeah.
about who
You
gets hit
changed.
more or
Yeah,
who's
you changed.
like dealing with it better? What's the
No, the
question?
question.
No,
I think it's
you
like
guys kind of
50-50.
went into like who's like
Dealing with it more.
I just dropped the
Yeah.
question. You
Or
guys
are they the same
literally took
thing?
in your own angles and you're blaming.
I was talking about the idea of relativity because like we were
That's-
saying how like the child, like how someone younger who is like going through a heartbreak is like, you know, خلاص, just get over it, you know, don't stop being a kid. But
Yeah, no,
the
I
thing-
don't. That's not how I would deal with a 13-year-old that got rejected either, man. I'm not telling you, no. When the guy comes to you and he's like feeling heartbreak, but it's not really heartbreak that you just take away. You don't validate that part of it. It's just in a subtle way. You kind of make him aware of what's happening in life, and he pieces that together on his own. Like, you don't actually have to tell him, bro, this isn't heartbreak. You just show him a little bit.
Don't worry, you will get rejected much more than this.
Yeah, like, bro, basically, honestly, like, man, like, if I could go back to my young self and be like, yo, bro, if you're worried about this, you have a long way of it, like, ahead of you. But hey, man, look, there's also wins, there's also dubs along the way.
Yeah, life
Right?
is just a bunch of L's. There are some dubs along the way. That's
Yeah.
how you talk to
So-
the younger generation. Speaking
Yeah.
of, let's stick to the final question because we're almost running out of time. I'll take it back to my original question. How do you get over it?
Time heals everything.
Time heals all wounds. I love us.
that's like
Wow.
with
I'm
isn't
being
that like the
serious.
commercial of Johnny Walker or
Sleep a
some shit
lot.
like that?
Johnny Walker.
Forward time.
No, I swear,
Like
I
this-
don't think you have a remedy for heartbreak. I think you just gotta
Distraction.
give it time. Yeah.
Distraction helps.
I mean, there's no flip switch to be like, oh,
Let's
I feel
start.
that.
Like, Nafis, what do you think? I want to go like on a lap.
How to deal with it?
Yeah.
I'd say it depends on what type of heartbreak. Like if it's a rejection, I think it's time. But if it's like a death, then I think you should like grieve with people, not grieve alone.
I agree. What
Right.
about you, Sami?
For me, like, depends. If it's your first rejection, or let's say if it's not your first, like if it's not your first, I wouldn't call it heartbreak or like. So I don't know.
let's say
Whatever you would consider.
let's say
as
yeah, let's say a
heartbreak.
2-year relationship broke off.
How would I deal with it?
Yeah.
Yalla.
Yeah,
Dealt with it before. So what did you do back
Alright.
Party all night. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Nah, like, well, like, okay, now I'm gonna be like specific, but like a distraction is quite easy in my opinion. What's the second thing? Like, let's say it was your favorite person just left you. Let's call it that. What's your second favorite thing or person? Not person, but like thing to do.
I would like to thank my
Thank
wife.
my wife, my
girlfriend.
team.
Your girlfriend. And your wife's busy doing with your girlfriend, pretty much. Oh my God.
Yeah, but no. But what I meant by a second person is like, let's say a family member, or wait, that
Yeah.
sounds even like fucking.
Oh my God.
Alabama.
It's the backup plan. It's the backup plan.
Listen,
Don't worry.
you're good,
Sweet
honestly.
home.
I get you. It's about like redeveloping new connections with people. So, like,
Yeah. For me, like I know myself. I'm not like, I don't even know what it's called in English, but like I'll just
Say it
play
in
like
Finnish, fuck
music. I don't know. I know like Arabic, like not maniac, but like I'll play like.
You thought it was something poetic, bro.
Oh, but like I'll put like, you know, the song "Fuck That Bitch." Boom, ching. I'll blast it up loud and go drive around town. You know, like I'll do that. Like yeah,
like actually,
people will look
like,
at me weird, but that makes sense.
Fair enough.
I'll be a dick about it, or well, I don't know, just
right. Ameer,
Yeah.
who else? Who comes after Sami?
Haejl.
wait. Actually, let me before you start. It,
Wait, let
He's-
him finish.
he's
Let him
lagging.
say.
Yeah, he's
I said, of course, that's wait, is he?
He's lagging, he's lagging.
He's lagging. So
Go.
Say it before he unlags.
So basically, of course, like let's say if I was to put on that specific song, like it would depend on what the heart rejection was.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
He's holding loyal.
If I actually,
Either play DMX or Drake.
yeah, it's like
That's right.
the music has to change.
Rip,
So yeah,
Yeah, music
DMX.
helps.
yeah.
Ali?
See, so-
Apparently,
For the love of
Ali's
God.
answer is to lag out of your mind, bro.
Internet Explorer was a person.
We'll give him some time to just recuperate, or his internet at least to recuperate. Amir, who's next on your screen?
Shammari, you.
Me? Oh, can we skip me?
Set
'Cause I
yourself
don't-
up with that one, man.
Go for it, man.
Man,
How would
the
you?
thing is, I'll tell you how I got over my heartbreaks was I just, like, for example, death of a family member. I accepted the fact that death is inevitable, right? Being that I'm not very religious, but being that I am sort of religious, I guess, I just accepted that, you know, God took what is his, and, you know, I moved on with it. It's fine. How do I move on fully from it? I realized that the only thing I can do is honor their memory at this point and just do good deeds for them, and hopefully just remember the good times, right? That's eventually that's all you can do. In terms of heartbreak or relationship, for me, love is the death of all duty, and I'm a dutiful man, right? So I don't really dabble with that love
is the
bullshit,
death
right?
of all.
Wait, why is love the death of all
Love-
duty?
Oh no, I heard it
Is it-
Game of Thrones. Leave me alone.
Is it-
Duty?
what about love for
Yeah,
your
my
country?
duty's
Isn't that
on.
considered a
God.
duty?
I mean,
Like, isn't
that's-
that you serving
yeah,
a duty?
fair,
Yeah,
but
yeah, hell yeah.
that's something that's owed and not optional, right? Technically speaking, if your country's
Isn't
good
it-
to you.
I wouldn't
But
say
no,
it's
no,
owed,
no,
no.
no,
It's like
That's
Lebanese
not-
people would not agree with you,
Yeah,
man.
Lebanese people, you won't agree with me. All right, but yeah, in terms of, but
Yeah.
if I was to ever go into a relationship, not saying that I did or will, but I guess,
Halal boy.
yeah, I guess I'd just be like, oh well, if we move forward, right? The best way is just to look past it and then find a specific time and a specific corner to grief about this whole situation, right? Like that's how I would go.
I kind of agree with you, Ali, a lot about that, because it's like I like to think of like my life in like chapters, pretty much, and like there are different moments in life, and like right now I'm going through
Phases.
a phase, and I know that this is just a phase, and this is just gonna be a chapter in this whole book.
That's it.
And then you flip on to the next one, and the next one might be amazing, but this one is just really uncomfortable and miserable. So pretty much, yeah, exactly.
You have to go through it because it's a chapter in your book. You have to go through
Yeah.
it. There's no going out of it, right? Blue fights, baby. Who's next?
Sherif.
Basically, I think the only heartbreaks I've had in my life are two. My uncle's death 1 year ago was the first death in my close family. That was really hard, especially because I didn't talk to him for a while. My second one, though, is the one before that. The first one was my first breakup. My only real relationship before this one. I think that what happened to me, and I allowed myself to do that, and it was the right decision. Is the catharsis I allowed myself to have. What I think you should do, just let yourself cry your eyes out, man. You need to let the pain out, and the feeling of freedom and peace that it sends on you afterwards is intoxicating. It even feels blissful in some sense. You have to let that out. You can't repress anything because, I'm not saying it like Saeed specifically, but like everyone, when they repress emotions, it comes out in really toxic ways, like anger and all kinds of things that can really damage other areas of your life, and it can be a domino effect that just destroys everything.
I'm not saying it about Saeed specifically, but I
It's like describing.
But Saeed, you need
That's
to-
the thing, Sherif.
Example.
I'm not willfully repressing my emotions. It's just I'm not being
No, I
able
know,
to process it.
I understand that.
That's just
Bad
idea.
example, then. My bad example. Yeah, that's my point. So, like, you need to deal with it, and not. You need to let the emotions like really take hold of you, so it can like what Shammari said in a sense, like allow yourself the time and place to grieve as much as you possibly can. The problem is how I dealt with it afterwards. Is like it was lack of maturity. I started looking for that feeling I had with this girl. I hope she never sees this because she doesn't know. But I started going to escorts and strip clubs.
Oh man, okay.
I can't believe I'm saying this. It's on. It's okay.
Yeah, I can't believe you're saying this.
It's okay. I have nothing to hide, man. I'm flawed. I'm like everyone else.
I have everything
Everyone
to
has
hide.
It is
That's
okay.
the issue.
It is okay.
But whatever, we move forward.
Boss.
But I'm in an amazing place now, so yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
I agree,
Hopefully.
man. About
Alhamdulillah
like
for you.
feeling what you're feeling. I agree, man. I don't think it's easy. Sometimes it's hard to feel what the fuck you're feeling.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just blocked under something.
Well,
I can
Abbas?
see I'm very in touch with my emotions.
Okay.
That your
Abbas,
Canadian
you're
accent?
muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, so I think everybody who knows me also agrees that I always say you gotta let yourself feel. You gotta have the time and place to grieve. Also, time I think is very important. So sometimes there's certain pains that they can't go away unless time heals it. Death of a person, death of a family member, you gotta grieve with your family. And like Ali said, I also find ease in religion. So that's how I kind of cope with things death-wise.
Thinking of an
everything else.
afterlife is so comforting, man. I'm jealous of people who really are religious because like you believe he's in a better place.
Not just
I-
that.
Not
no,
necessarily.
It's a better
Basically,
place. It's
yeah,
like
I know people
Definitely.
that were my friends that died, and I'm like, fuck, that guy's probably like in the depths of hell right now. I'll be very honest. The amount of shit he's done, god damn.
it's more like it's not.
Yeah, right?
It's not that way.
I'm not naming names, but damn, that guy.
Just pray for him, man.
Or some people I know now that are alive, and I'm just like, bro, you're going to hell at this pace, honestly. Like,
I'll
60
say like-
year olds
Amen,
do all
brother.
this.
Amen.
But yeah, honestly, never mind. Yeah, sorry. This took a very weird turn. Abbas, keep going.
No, yeah, and just like you have all that bottled up negative energy. You gotta like have a healthy activity to let that all out. That's very important, I guess.
What kind of activity do you mean, man?
Shufi activities.
Boxing,
Putting
your music-
Hey,
putting your music on loud and driving, boxing,
PG?
basketball, sports,
Yes.
let's remain PG as
things
much
at
as we
home.
Amazing.
Saeed?
Oh, I never
Um,
used PG. Oops.
So for relationships wise, I've already come to terms that no one. It's not okay. So in life, you don't have one soulmate. I don't believe in that.
Let's
In that
go.
point in my
Saeed's
head.
already
Hey,
playing
Allah,
the
4-1.
Yeah.
No,
boy, they're all
that's not the that's not the way. It's not the approach. Jesus. No, that's not what I meant. What I meant is like, even if you lose. Okay, so like, you know, when you're in your, for example, your first love, and you've been with her for a while, like when you guys do break up, it's very hard for you to break up because like you have this attachment to this person because like you constantly think that you'll never find someone better. But I've already come to terms in my, or not necessarily better, but like someone who's similar. I've already come to terms in my head that it's not like you have one soulmate in your life, and if you miss out on her, you're never gonna find another. It's more of a, you know, it's a process. When you find that person, you work on the relationship together, and you see if you guys are compatible and if you guys can work it out for the rest of your lives. Now for
that it's a process, but I don't think it's that easy to find someone.
Exactly. I know it's not easy. That's not like obviously some processes take less time than others, but it's not just one person in your whole life. That's the point I'm making. So don't get attached to that one person that you like. No matter what, you can't lose them. It's all right to let go eventually.
It could be that you don't actually end up finding someone. I'm not saying that you should be like overly attached or you shouldn't break up if you're in a toxic relationship. But what I'm saying is, sometimes, man, like you go through life, you find someone you get along with, and then it falls apart, and then you just don't find someone else. And that happens a lot too. Yeah. Right. Or there's people that are in wonderful relationships and then they lose it. Right. I always think, when I think about this, I always remember the story of Taj Mahal, right? Because like she was his wife, she died, giving birth to one of his kids, right? And he was really upset about it, and that's why he made that whole building dedicated to her. And like what was he? He was they're called like shahs, right? Like
Yes.
Yeah. So he was basically like a ruler, right, of the Empire of India, and he could have basically been of Hindustan, not India. And he could have been with anyone, and he had access to all the women in the world, right? But he couldn't find what he had with that person. So it's important
isn't that like a type of attachment there? Because he attached to that kind of thing. Well, yeah, that's the point I'm saying. Like, don't
like, okay. My point is that you can't escape that attachment. It's like if you have that connection with someone, you're not going to lose it, right?
I understood,
you might lose it,
but in my opinion, I feel like you can build another type of attachment with someone new. It's not necessarily
it's different.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be exactly the same. That's the thing. Like, you can still find someone like to spend the rest of your life with. It's just like not the first person you bump into. He's like, okay, this is.
I'm not saying it's necessarily the first person. No,
I'm saying there's a special connection.
Yeah. Sometimes you find that special connection, and sometimes when things get tough, you might think to yourself, well, maybe I should move on or like find someone else. But you might be doing some
question on this point. Since you believe there's this one special connection. Is this special connection inherent? Is this a special connection inherently existent when you like in the cosmos, or is it something that you build on?
It's just a play of odds. There's so many people in the world. You're so unique in such a ridiculous way. It's hard for everyone, like for people to completely absorb what you are, and it's hard for you to completely absorb what someone else is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so random that for you to find that special connection where you both entirely love each other in that specific way, that's not something to be taken lightly. That is a improbable experience, and that's something that's unique and something that people should be grateful to have.
Damn.
And you might lose it, and if you do lose it, you might not get a replacement. I'm saying the attachment is. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is the attachment isn't misplaced. The attachment is correctly placed. It's because it's a valuable thing. If there's a valuable thing in your life, you will be attached to it. That's natural.
I agree very 100%. Yeah.
I would say it's more something that you can build on, and it's not necessarily something that just exists or like, you just find. It's something that over time you can work on it.
Yeah, who said a soulmate is ready like in a box with a bow tie?
Well, okay, then what are we arguing on if we're agreeing?
No, but like for example, I found my soulmate, but we work on our relationship daily.
But
Yeah, exactly.
but
That's kind of my point. It's
but Saeed,
it's
what
not
I'm
like
trying
you
to say,
found your soulmate.
imagine-
You worked on the process of like that relationship, and then like it's like she became your soulmate.
Okay,
Yes.
imagine it like this, right? Like I'm trying to fill this bottle with water and this one with water, right? Like as hard as I try, I can't fill this as much as I can fill this, bro. Right? And it's kind of like that with people. You work with them really hard.
That's a great analogy. Put that in the book. That's great. It does not fill. The water does not fill the whole way. It's only a maximum. Yeah, dude, it's relative, and life's so random. And I know.
Yeah,
it's
like
chaotic.
you can't necessarily won't
You can
always
try.
just-
Yeah, but it's not. You know.
I would disagree also on that point because like the lessons you have learned from that relationship where you have been filling the water, you can also take it
Right.
and then use it within the other relationship.
And the other
it's
bottle
incredibly
might
hard.
be bigger.
It can be incredibly hard sometimes.
Yeah, in my experience, I've never been through that, man. Like I've never had two relationships that were even remotely similar, bro. They were like nothing, never been similar. Never, the process has never been similar. The growth has never been similar. The connection has never been similar. The fights were always different. The problems different. The connection different. And the point that you reach to, the peak of what that relationship has never been like even remotely the same.
The ceiling of one relationship isn't the same as the ceiling as the one you are currently in.
Especially when you've been through one that you had to leave and it was really horrible. Then you know, really the ceiling was fucking low, bro. You just didn't see it, right? And you thought like if you worked at it and you maintained that ceiling, it would have been great. But that ceiling was shit, bro. You just didn't see it.
We didn't see it at the time. Yeah.
I feel like you might be going too much into the details because like okay, the details might be a bit different of like, for example, an argument you have in two separate relationships, but the general concept of why you're having an argument could be similar, even though those two individuals are different.
Right.
Their personalities and
maybe
their
I think to comment on that, like you're the constant in your relationships. Maybe probably a lot of problems. I'm not saying you, everyone's a constant in their relationships.
He just wants to roast me today, man. What's going on?
No, like basically, like there's a common. Listen, there's a common.
Is this your way of letting me like express myself? Because like I'm repressing my feelings.
No, everyone. Like, there's a common theme in all your problems in life, like because you're the active agent in some sense on one part, on side of the fence, you know, relationships or family or whatever, you know. You're always an active agent, so like there's usually a common theme in that sense. There is a lot of similarities. But at the same time, there is enough uniqueness in both people and everything that constitutes who they are that I agree with Ameer that like everything can be different. Even the level of connection you can have is different. Like it can be much higher. You know, how much you can invest in the bottle. I like the metaphor. You know, how much you can invest in the bottle. It can be different because every bottle has a limited capacity. You know, like, you can't do that. You can't have the same thing in a different bottle. You can't build the same amount of water in the different bottles.
Makes you unique.
But I get where you're coming from, Saeed. I get you want to be. There's this place that we all would like to be in, where you're kind of in a relationship and it's going well, or it's not going well, or whatever the situation might be. But you want to be in that relationship in a position where you feel like, look, man, if it goes away, I'm going to be fine. Everyone would like to be in that position. No one ever wants to be in the position where if this falls apart, I'm going to fall apart. No one likes to think that, even if it's true. But the reason you acknowledge that it's a possibility, or the reason you acknowledge that it could be true, is just so that it forces you to be careful with your relationship, because your relationship is a delicate thing, man. It's not the person.
The relationship.
The relationship itself.
Friendships. I mean, I even like extend this to friendships because I mean, sometimes, you know, heartbreak can happen in friendships. You know, I've had friends where I was really close to them for a time and then maybe they've changed or we've grown apart and then maybe we reconnect in the future, come together. And I don't know, but sometimes, you know, friends do things that are heartbreaking and your relationships with your friends always change. But again, I can't accept, you know, it is what it is, man. You can't control these things. It is, I mean, you can control them a little bit by being careful in your decisions, but a lot of it is just totally random. And I know, see, like doing the best with what we have.
And I like to think, like myself, for example, like all of you here, I love all of you, and I think you're all great friends of mine. And I like to think still at the same time on a level that if you guys were to betray me or to hurt me, that I would be fine, right? But realistically speaking, man, like you guys are so close to me that if you were to do that, I'm not going to take it well. And I'm not going to feel like I'm going to find a different person to connect with. And bro, how am I going to build? Yeah, bro.
Just go to high school again and
we go to high school.
problem.
Yeah.
That should be a comedy movie.
By the way, just something I wanna add on so that I'm not
Play League for 5
misunderstood.
years together again.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing so that I'm not misunderstood. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna feel anything if I break up with someone or if I get out of a relationship. I'm just saying, because the question was, how do you move on? So this was like my perspective. Like, in my opinion, you move on because I constantly put in my head that it's not like it's the end of the world for me. It's like, this is not the only relationship that's going to work out for me. I can make another relationship in the future once I am over this current one. And I can also build something great with someone else.
That's true, yeah.
I understand.
You can, and it might not happen.
Yeah, that's
It might not
that's
happen,
what I think. Yeah.
But we'll see. But I still try. That's the important
Yeah.
thing for
I
me.
mean,
So that's where the phrase
think-
comes. There's plenty fish in the sea.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
plenty
Yeah.
of fish in the
Fish in the
sea.
sea.
Heard that far too many times in my
But every
life.
fish is a different color and taste, man.
I mean, it's
Ooh,
okay.
Sherif,
Plenty of
you are the
fish.
sushi guy, you know every
Yeah,
fish.
I like
That's
salmon.
Only like tuna.
Alrighty,
I'm a
boys.
salmon eater.
Hey man, it's my turn.
The yum.
Oh, wait.
Who's gonna hit
The
me?
circle
Yes.
must... The wheel
Yeah,
must turn.
man. This wheel.
What
Hey,
else?
man.
There's plenty of fish in the sea. What else?
Look, man. I'll start off with a disclaimer. I don't think I've been through heartbreak at this point in my life. I don't think I've been through loss, and if with death, I genuinely, man, feel like death is release. I don't. When I look at people that die, I'm upset that I miss them, and I'm upset that they're gone. But I don't. I know they're in a better place just by the fact that they're not alive, man. Just being alive is a fucking chore. Bro. There's just so much, bro. You have to do so much. There's so much pain, and the older you get, your joints hurt, your back hurts, your whole body aches. People are dying. Loved ones you want, they're not hanging out with you. People don't want to see you. You start like walking slow, and you can't move your arm, and you can't shower properly. It's fucking horrible, right? Like, I don't want to grow old, but at the same time, I do want to grow old. When I think of that, I think when people die, I'm sad that I miss them, but man, I'm glad. Like, on a level, you're free from all that weird humanly suffering that you have to go through.
And that's why I want to die at the healthy age of 65.
You don't want to retire, man. You don't want to enjoy the pension, bro.
Yeah, go golfing.
Bro, take pension.
The pension of $1,000 بالشهر. Perfect. Amazing ظهرات. Great experience.
And I want to get a thick ass pension, man. That's why, man. I want to
How
enjoy
much?
that.
1,500, Sherif?
Ah, bro.
Wow.
Ah, it's much more than that.
In Canada?
Every month,
How much?
bro, every
How much
month-
per month do you get as a pension?
Bro, every month they give me like
$6,000.
$150.
Like, he already knows he's
How much?
100
going for
100
retirement early.
$150, $160 every month, bro. Imagine a lifetime of work. How much money that is?
Wait, what?
What?
$150 per month?
US dollars, not Canadian
In
dollars.
my okay, 120, 130.
Wait, a month?
Canadian.
No way.
How do you live on that, bro?
How do you
Sure, it's more.
I'm saying my pension. What they take from my
Pension.
income to put in my pension.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
Any
hey.
interest?
Yeah, but basically you worked for it.
Does it have any interest?
No interest. This is like it's the standard in all the Canadian provinces. It's like an employment benefit. Every single income you get every 2 weeks, at least in my case, they deduct. The
Nice
government
benefit.
deducts.
They take your money. What a benefit.
Yeah, and then they give it back to you. They're
Yeah.
forcing you to save.
I mean, it's in the form of
Sharif,
taxes.
question. How do they calculate how much to give you back per month if they don't know when you're gonna die? So like you might die before you use up all of the pension you saved.
No, I can't access it until 65.
No, I mean like once you reach 65, obviously they're gonna have to give you back the money per month, right? They're gonna
Give
give
it
you a
to you
specific
monthly?
sum.
Oh, they don't
Yeah.
give it to you,
No,
like-
they don't give it to me monthly. They take it from my income and add it to the pension plan for my future.
Okay, and once you reach 65, do they give you back monthly or do they give you back all of the money at the same time?
I think it's monthly. I think it's monthly.
Yeah, I know pensions like work that way. They give you monthly payments.
Some orgs can give you like a whole like you can take even a less pension
Bro,
per
this
month,
just
but they
sounds
give you a
like
huge
they
amount.
take your cash flow.
They take your money, and so that you're.
No, like I know some
yeah.
organizations they
Literally.
they give you
Yeah,
like
private
well,
organizations
one of them
might
is
give you
like-
back.
UN, let's say. Like for example, my father, he can get like a bigger pension, like all at once, but then like he would also get per month less amount, or then he can get per month more amount, but without like the insta payment.
Mm.
Yeah, see, but how do they calculate that if it's not like they know when you're gonna die? You know?
Well, it's an estimate, right? Like
I think
they
when you
know
die,
the
you get
life
more.
expectancy.
Well, I don't think UN has a lot of money. I don't think he's worried about my father's pension.
Oh, I'm looking for the pennies.
Expenses,
man. Where's the-
Right.
Yeah. All right. And for when it comes to relationships, just to carry on, finally.
Carry
When
on.
it comes to relationships, man.
Just carry on.
Yeah, I think I'm with Sami on this one. Like you lose one thing you love, just appreciate the other things that you love in your life.
Nice one.
I don't necessarily say try and fix it or replace it or whatever. No, just in life you lose things that you love all the time. But while you have the things that you love, make sure you love them.
Yeah.
Share memories. Yeah,
Amazing.
I agree with that.
All right, and since my Wi-Fi is back now, I'll look here in this camera and say,
I think
sometimes
it's yours, Ali. I don't think we got yours.
this is it. This is me saying
This is
right
it.
now.
That's
I think the most important thing is knowing yourself and how you react to different things, because everyone's experience is different. It's very hard to tell someone how they're going through heartbreak and how they should deal with it when you don't know what they're doing and you don't actually know the answer of how to deal with it. You know, even adults don't know the answers to these questions. So I just, like really just like knowing when sometimes you do get sad, sometimes I get sad, and when I get sad, I just say, okay, today I feel sad. It's fine. I shouldn't treat myself like I should be happy now because I'm sad and I'm not feeling it. And if I'm going through times where I'm not feeling it, I just let myself rest. And when I'm going through times I'm feeling it, I feel I'm pushing myself forward. So I think, I don't know, with everything, it's just like learning more about the world and myself and trying to piece it together best I can. I don't know what else.
Ali, do you dislike it when people compare their situations to others?
Yeah, 100%, because everyone has a completely different experience. It's like completely different. Your personality.
Well, worst words you could hear. I know how you feel.
Yeah.
That's
I know because you don't. Because you literally don't. You don't know what my life is going through right now, and you can't. That's why like a kid can. When I was a kid and I was heartbroken, I really felt that pain when I was rejected. But now as I'm older and I'm going through death and I understand these things, I'm also going through pain, but they're both pain and it's really difficult to measure, but everyone's experience is different. So I'm just trying to learn from myself, and I don't really listen to other people for advice.
What I dislike about comparisons is like when you want to share something you're going through and then they go like, it's like, look, but that's nothing. I'm going through this and this. Your problem is not like undermining your problems and just making themselves, like
that's just the bad
taking the spotlight away from you and putting that on themselves.
That's
like
more
a
of an
Lebanese thing.
asshole. Yeah, that's more of an asshole. Like,
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. That's what most people do these days. They compare by undermining your problems and by sharing theirs.
For
like,
me,
I'm coming to you for support, and then you basically undermine what I'm going through by just talking about yourself.
Saeed, when I say I compare a lot, I meant like, for example, personally, when I'm going through something that's difficult. So what kind of like Ameer was saying earlier. And
I like to compare with other people's strategies.
Everything. So when I'm like going through something difficult, I'm just like, bro, this is not even close to some tragedies that's going on.
This is why it's hard.
I would say that's more awareness than comparison. That's the thing.
That is comparison,
like,
it is
no, bro, I might even ask people.
You're relating.
People.
No, you're
Tell me.
relating to what other people are going through, but like that's a type of awareness. I'm talking about comparison as in like direct comparison, like with the person when you're talking to them.
That undermines for sure. That's really bad.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
really
that's
Yeah.
undermining, and that's kind of like an asshole thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
if you were coming to tell me something, I would never be like, bro, you look at me, I have it worse.
Yeah, it becomes a pissing competition. It's like, yo, I have bigger problems
No,
than
that's like, yeah, Lebanese thing.
But man, like it works the other way too. Like people fucking love to come and say they want support, but they also don't want to hear about. They don't want to hear anything that actually helps their problem, or helps put their problem in perspective, or helps them make sense of the fucking world. They just come and they tell you what they're going through.
Which makes you wonder, what are they seeking, right?
Yeah, anything you tell
Depends.
them,
Yeah.
there's a
Because-
way.
They'll take it in a bad way.
you. Maybe they're
Or
just
they
seeking
can't just-
support instead of a solution. That's the thing, just they're looking
Yeah.
for a friend and not a
That's what
therapist.
I think maybe just clouded by like the thoughts that are going in their head, and
Isn't
don't
support
really-
solution though?
No, those
Not
are two
always.
different things. One
Yeah,
No, I know
one
they're
is basically like
different
it's like a coach telling you like how you can become better, and one is basically a friend listening to you. Just
But if you
listening
truly-
to you rant,
If
basically.
you truly
know,
care
you
for the person, you could hear him rant and then give your personal
If
opinion on
if
how
they
it would
request a solution, yeah, of course. If they're requesting advice, of course, give it to them. But if they don't want to, they just want someone to listen to their problems. That's
help. But if
two different
somebody,
things.
if somebody,
100%.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel with Abbas here because for me, man, like if I'm going through a problem, the only time I talk about it is so I can hear a solution. But
yeah,
man, but then again, I'll go with my original disclaimer. I haven't been through heartbreak, so what the fuck do I know?
What the fuck do I know?
yeah, like even like breaking up and shit. I don't feel that as my heartbreak.
I've
only gone through one. Maybe it's my aunt. I don't know if you guys know about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my
Well-
only heartbreak ever, and that's even compared. Like for me, like look, I'm gonna say that like even compared to other people, like the guy who lost his mom, his wife and kid.
like the
like-
things people are going through in Lebanon every day, bro. At this point,
yeah.
like I think about that, and I think about the things I've gone through, and I'm like, man, I've been blessed. Like life has been
Life's
like
good,
treating
man.
me.
I definitely
yeah,
think like here in Finland we have like clean tap water and drinking. Like I just noticed the other day, like I give my dog the tap water. I wash my car with the tap water that's drinkable. It's drinkable here. And then there are like kids in other countries which are not so fortunate as I am, and they can't have basic water supplies. So you
The
kind of
wheel
have to
must
be
go
also
round,
aware.
man. The car has to keep going, man.
Yeah, but yeah. So it
Yeah,
does
but
cross
you
my
can't have
mind,
one
like-
wheel that's wooden and one wheel that's actually,
Okay.
rubber and like an actual car tire.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I like your point, Sami. Yeah, 100%. It's
If I-
it's
if
big
I
perspective.
Yeah.
If I had one thing that I wish I could instill in people, if I had the power to put it into people, is that man, like when people are talking about emotions, sometimes you can tell they're smart enough to realize how to deal with one emotion super well. Like some people are excellent at dealing with like sadness or heartbreak, or they're so good, they're so graceful, man. They go through that period. You
I'm
don't
good at
feel
being
like
happy.
anything.
I'm good at being happy.
There's some people who are really good at being happy, for example. They're very expressive about it, inviting, yalla. They make more people happy with them. One thing I just want to, like, if I could instill it in those people, it's like, man, you see the same way you deal with that emotion, you literally can do it with other emotions too. Not necessarily the same action, but you can have a really good relationship with all those emotions. You can have a really healthy one. You can really understand it well. And yeah, man, like it doesn't need to be, oh, this is bad emotion. Fuck it. I don't want to experience it. Like, it's just part of life.
What would you say about anxiety, man? What's your relationship with anxiety?
Anxiety is a
Broad
tough
question.
one. I didn't have a
For the next episode, we should do about
for the
anxiety.
next episode.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right, next week, we're wrapping out of time here. This was an amazing live, guys. Everyone's here. It's kind of incredible. Let's make it happen again next week. See you all. Heartbreak, international love. Thanks for watching A to the show. This is how we sign out. And
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide.